Hey there, Whiskey Gang. Welcome to another episode of Not Another Whiskey Podcast. I'm your host, Mitch, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Nicholas Palaki. Now, don't let his taste in whiskey fool you. He's the guy who thinks a budget bottle is just as good as the fancy stuff. Right, Nicholas?
Oh, I've got discerning taste, mate. It's just that my wallet has a mind of its own, so I take what I can get, right?
Scottish wallet, right? With your little your little dinosaur hands, your T-Rex arms coming in.
That's it. Kangaroo pockets, alligator arms.
Well, anyway, listen, if you're sipping on top shelf whiskey or something in the bargain bin, today is an episode we've got a real treat in store for you guys. We've got a special guest joining us, Euan Campbell, who is the head of whiskey creation for the Single Malt Whisky Society. Euan, welcome to the show, my man. How you doing?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thanks very much for having me on.
Of
Euan,
course.
I just want to call Mitch right out the gate. It's the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, right? Not the Single Malt Whisky Society.
Yeah, I was too polite to correct him there.
Don't be polite.
Did I say single? Euan. Oh my goodness.
Oof.
I am a member as well, so that's pretty embarrassing.
You're an ex-member now. Excommunicado.
No, all is forgiven. Don't worry
All
about
is
that.
forgiven. There you go.
Ewan's already just sent the text quickly, like, get him off the members list.
That's it. So, Euan, before we take a deep dive in here, mate, let's talk about the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. Like, some of you may have tried their drams out there, the listeners out there, or even sat and had a whiskey at one of their venues, of course, in Edinburgh and around. You're known for your bold and adventurous approach to whiskey. Scotch Malt Whisky Society is a beacon of innovation and independent bottlers of the whiskey world, right? So from unique single cask releases to creation and labeling, exclusive member experiences and things like that as well. You guys kind of push the boundaries of traditional Scotch whiskey, I think it's maybe fair to say, while still celebrating heritage. Anything I'm missing here, mate? Is this you guys date back to 1983 when Pip Hills, is it, decided to upon the model after buying a cask of Glenfarclas for all his mates? Is that really how it all started? One guy was like, I'm going to get some whiskey in for the boys.
That is really how it all started, yeah. And legend has it that he kind of strapped the cask to his car in Speyside and drove it back down to Edinburgh. It's popped on his kitchen table, and all of his pals came round with like empty iron brew bottles and stuff, and helped themselves. And then, soon enough, they'd finished those bottles and they were knocking on his door again. So they kind of decided to form a syndicate, which formally became the SMWS in 1983. And yeah, they just started expanding, going to different distilleries and exploring all that Scotch whisky can be in the form of single cask.
I love that story. Can you imagine just going to a distillery now and just chucking a cask on your car and taking it home? Change days, eh? Change days. Mate, but you've been with the society now for, I think it's 15 years, is that right? Kind of OG?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. So when we look at your role as head of whiskey creation, it involves, I'm going to have to take a deep breath for this to get my head around and everything that you do here. So you manage stock, you meet distillers, you visit distilleries, cooperages, loads of other additional work around extra maturations. You're creating new make spirit, experimenting, innovating. You're part of the single Scotch Malt Whisky tasting panel, of course, which selects whiskies for the members. Busy day in the office, mate. What's your favourite part of the job? And have I missed anything out there? I mean, that seems like quite a lot. I hope I haven't missed anything out.
No, that's quite a thorough explanation of what it's like. So everything from looking at our long-term stock modelling, getting new make spirit in the door, selecting which cooperages to work with in terms of wood supply. There's blending and additional maturation and things as you alluded to. Obviously, our genesis was in single cask strength whiskey, but really we're whiskey lovers at heart. So we explore small batch single malts, blended malts, single grain whiskey, and we've expanded to bottling whiskies from all over the world, from Japan, Denmark, France, Australia, and the US, to name a few. So yeah, we're really all about exploring whiskey.
It's very cool. Very cool. Dean. So for the listeners that are out there, like obviously we've had a few whiskey makers on the show already, as I'm sure you know from being an avid fan yourself, right? But I don't think we've really had anyone that's maybe get as much access to the variety of you has as you personally have. Like, can you give us a little kind of insight into the inventory that you guys carry and some of the kind of wow factor casks that you might have kind of sitting underneath your nose and fingertips? And yeah, I would love to hear a little bit about some of the things that you've actually got.
Yeah, so one of the things that we strive to do is deliver variety to our members, of which I think there are now 41,000 globally. And yeah, so we've got around 18,000 casks in stock, mostly in Scotland. And yeah, when we're purchasing new fills or maturing stocks, it's all about finding variety and small parcels of this, that, and the other. So it's a really diverse portfolio of casks. We've got something ludicrous like 120 different wood types. So that could be, oak species or toasting recipes or the previous contents of different wines and things that you can source. So all about creating different flavors and delivering different experiences to our members.
Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely.
It always blows my mind the amount of different expressions that you guys bring out. Like I mentioned earlier, Euan, you've been with the company for 15 years now. So what big differences do you see within the company and also the independent bottling category generally?
Within the company, obviously, a lot of things have kind of changed. We have changes of ownership over the years, but our focus remains the same, that mission to deliver the variety of whiskies to members. So from my point of view, all that's really happened is we've had increased investment to put back into our whiskey stocks and our wood. So hugely positive in that sense. Obviously, the wider independent bottler scene, you've seen a proliferation of smaller companies springing up, and also companies based all over the world. So certainly it seems like we were onto a good concept back in 1983. And yeah, there's just so much offering out there, but we're always trying to offer something that little bit different. And because we're a membership club, first and foremost, that's all about our tasting experiences. We have venues in the UK where, as you said before, we will work with distillers to create bespoke new makes so that there's whiskey that only we can offer. So yeah, we're always kind of thinking outside the box to see how we adapt and thrive in the modern whiskey world.
And you mentioned your members there, Euan, and I think you chat to the members quite a bit. How much influence do they have on you on what whiskey you're going to produce or what you're looking for next?
Well, I actually started life working as a barman at our Vaults venue down in Leith, which is where we first started. And that was really invaluable in, every day, tasting the new whiskies, getting to interact with the members, ask them for their feedback and deliver tastings and stuff. So yeah, and I will frequently pop up after a day in the office to chat to the team and chat to some members up there. And generally we get, good feedback on what we're delivering. And we have a big focus, for example, on sherry cask matured whiskey at the moment, something that members are pretty crazy about. So yeah, big investment going into sherry wood and lots of different expressions coming out. So yeah, we'll always look for feedback and try and adapt as we can as well.
Leading on from that, actually, so a little birdie put it in our ear. You've recently just came back from a quest to Jerez. So have you got any kind of sherry-soaked tales you want to share from that journey? Like, obviously, I'm sure you've got some amazing whiskey adventures anyway, but like, how did that particular trip stand out? Like, what did you get up to? Actually, Mitch was just there as well, so we had an amazing episode specifically just on, we were speaking to the team ourselves at Gonzalez BS. But from your perspective, what is it that you look for when you go there, and what stood out from that journey for you?
Yeah, I've been out, lucky enough to go out a few times, and this time was to film a documentary where we were going from the very north in Galicia, went to the forests and saw trees being felled, went to the sawmill, followed the logs down to Jerez to meet the cooperages and the wineries. It's just amazing. And, the time off camera, being able to go and experience flamenco and food and partake in some of the amazing sherry wines is just unbelievable. And actually, when we were going over there, my colleague Richard, who is the director of the documentary, he kind of said like, "Oh, I know you don't really like being on camera that much, but we'll get you sparingly in to add some flourishes." And then when we landed, he was just like, "You're presenting this, by the way." So,
and here's your
so
your flamenco outfit. Off you go.
Exactly. So you just have to roll with it sometimes, I guess. But it was amazing, and that's out now. It's on YouTube. Really good documentary, I would say. Yeah.
Cool. And we'll put the link into our posts as well, so people can kind of go and see and take a look at it. Right.
Awesome.
So let's do some crystal ball here stuff here, Euan. Looking ahead, what do you see for the future of whiskey? Any sort of emerging trends or innovations that excite you, that you're like, yes, I can grab this and take it and put it into what I'm doing?
I think a lot of the kind of ideas have been explored to some extent in terms of like different yeast strains and different specialty malts, using toasted malt and things like that. So I think we'll see all of those being elaborated upon, and we'll learn a lot more about flavor contribution of stuff like that. It's kind of difficult. Like, I think obviously there's a huge environmental pressure on every industry, really. And I'm quite interested to see what developments there'll be in terms of, eco technologies and stuff, and how that might impact flavor. And if it does, how we could actually utilize it positively to build flavors. That'd be quite interesting. But, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm just kind of guessing here.
Well, maybe not a crystal ball, but if you get any upcoming releases or projects that you've actually already put together that you can share with our listeners, and maybe obviously pre-tease some of the stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of this stuff has come out this month, actually, but May is kind of festival season. You've got the Speyside Festival, the Isla Festival. So we do kind of our own version of that called the Flavor Hunters Festival, where we will put together batches from every region, even if there isn't a festival there, like the Lowlands, there isn't one yet. But yeah, so we've got small batch products coming out this month from something like 8 up to 25 years old. Loads of different cask types involved in those recipes, all done at cask strength. So super excited to see what people make of those, because I think I signed the recipes off in July last year. So, whiskey is a very long game, and you tend to see this lag in everything that you've developed until it eventually comes out. So yeah, super excited about that stuff.
Yeah.
Just trying to think, I probably have an embargo on anything that's not yet come out. So
yeah, but we don't mind embargoes on this show. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
Exactly.
Nice try.
Nice try indeed. On that point, so let's say you work with so many different cask styles, so many different distilleries. Have you ever had a really challenging cask? You've been like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I don't know how I'm going to make it work. There must have been some kind of scenario like that. And then on the flip side of that, I suppose there's been a cask that's just been like, this is banging, this is great to go, I don't need to do anything to this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're dealing with a natural, evolving, maturing product. So as much as you can intervene in, selecting the right wood and, sampling at what you think is the right time, it's kind of a law unto itself, and to some extent. So yeah, if you get a cask that's particularly difficult in the sense it's not maturing right, I always kind of view things a little bit like, if you imagine on a graph, like age and readiness, there will be some point in that cask's life that it will be ready. You might just need to leave it for 40 years instead of the 10 that you thought. You can always change up the wood though if you've got a first fill bourbon barrel that just isn't doing what you expect it to do. I don't know why that would be. Maybe it was used for much longer in the US than standard, and it's not as active in Scotland. Change it up, and then come back in a couple of years' time, and lo and behold, it's where you would have expected it. So it's all about instinct constant sampling and trying to shape things as you see fit. In terms of amazing casks, yeah, obviously, quite often those tend to be ones that are like super young, but are like insanely mature. And you're just like, if we could unlock how this actually happened, it'd be brilliant.
Yeah,
I know, it's like a hot pocket in the warehouse or something, but you can never quite, narrow down why it turns out like that. But yeah, great fun.
What about cask preference and distillery preference? I suppose distillery preference is a hard one for you to answer, but if you could only work with one cask and one distillery, which would they be?
Yeah. If I had all the time in the world, I would opt to make only kind of 18 to 25-year-old unpeated Speyside whiskey in a refill hogshead. Because at that point, you just start to reach these amazing, like, tropical notes. The texture is beautiful. I'm thinking like something like Longmorn or something like that just is so fruity and shows really well at that kind of age. But, I love a big, heavily sherried dram. The first dram I had was Lefroy. And I've been to the Isla Festival countless times. I love all whiskey, but probably, yeah, sitting down at the end of the day is a kind of late teens, early 20s unpeated Speysider that's just been left to coast and refill would ideal.
Nice. Lefroy's a big one to start with, man. But, and I see why you go to Speyside there, because digging into your history, it literally seems like whiskey's in your blood, right? Your dad was the distillery manager at Tormore, is that right? Do you actually live on site at the distillery when you were up there?
Yeah, I don't think he was the distillery manager, but he certainly did all of the roles around the distillery. But yeah, the Tormore had employee housing, and we stayed on site. I was only I think it was about 2 when we left, but there's some cracking pictures of me standing next to sherry butts in the snow. So yeah, I guess, and my dad always has enjoyed a dram. So I remember growing up, having a sniff of the tumbler and going, and then eventually one day I was like, oh, this is actually quite nice. So yeah, always been present.
Have you ever managed to work in a cask from Tormore that your dad made, or was like part of the team that made the whiskey that was in the barrel?
I have not. I think we've done a couple in 1988, and that would have been just after we had left. I think we were like sort of 85, 86, 87, thereabouts. So I haven't quite managed that yet. That would be really cool.
That would be cool. What a great story for you to put out there. Your own little whiskey that your dad helped to make. Yeah,
that'd be good. I'll need to save him a dram as well if I ever get hold of one.
Right, Euan, time for some stupid questions for you, right? You ready for this?
Oh, nice. Good stuff.
Right, would you rather have a whiskey dispenser installed in your shower or have your favourite whiskey magically refill every time you finish a glass?
Probably the second one. I'm not sure I have much use for whiskey in the shower, but...
You don't drink whiskey in the shower? What's wrong with you?
It might depends what it is. Well, it might clean the grout pretty well. 2 for the price of 1. But yeah,
in its context, Mitch drinks his whiskey in the bathtub crying, so that's probably why I asked that question.
Indeed.
So, Euan, if you're stranding in a desert island with only one type of whiskey, would you rather have a peated Islay or a Speyside, smooth Speyside whiskey? And more importantly, how would you use it to signal for help?
Well, I think I'd have a smooth Speysider, probably drank out of a coconut or something. And then I might spell out SOS in the sand with a bunch of empty bottles.
There you go, get it up.
So you're taking like a whole case. I like it.
I thought I had unlimited. No.
Right, I like this one, right? So imagine you can only drink whiskey in a bizarre way for the rest of your life. Would you rather sip it through a crazy straw shaped like a bagpipe or drink it from a coconut shell with a tiny umbrella?
Well, as per my last answer, I think I'll go with the coconut shell and the wee umbrella. While playing the bagpipes.
Well,
You play the bagpipes? You're a piper?
I do not know. I had to go on a chanter one time and it was disastrous, so I gave up at that stage. Yeah.
there you go. If you could have any mythical creature as your whiskey drinking companion, would you rather sit alongside a wise old dragon who hoards rare whiskies or share a dram with a mischievous whiskey-loving leprechaun?
Wise old dragon, I think, and see what they could teach me about the rare old stuff that they had.
I guess that's kind of what you're becoming, right? Over time, you will become the wise old dragon who hoards rare whiskies.
Possibly. Let's see if that does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not that old, Nicholas. Come on.
I know.
A bit of an insult.
I said he's on his way to becoming like a samurai through the journey, right?
I agree. Can you imagine drinking with a leprechaun? That would just be annoying. Voice would just piss you off, right? Fucking.
I know. Imagine having to sit down and have somebody's voice that grates right through you, talk to you every week about whiskey. It would fucking get on my nerves. Sorry, Mitch, I wasn't staring at you there.
Right, Euan, last question from me. Would you rather have the ability to telepathically communicate with whiskey barrels and convince them to mature faster, or be able to instantly transport yourself to any whiskey distillery in the world for a VIP tour? I think I know which one you're going to pick here.
Yeah, I think the second one, because you can steer the maturation pretty well anyway, but being able to travel to any point in the world seems pretty handy even outside of the whiskey side of things. So I'll go with global telepathic travel, or let's go with that.
Instant transportation. I would take that one too, to be fair. If I could cut back on airplane food, that would be my number one choice. And last question for me, Euan. In a whiskey-themed rap battle, would you rather go head-to-head with William Wallace or James Bond? And what would your epic whiskey-themed rap name be?
Well, I'll need to get Chat GPT on the case here in the background. Let's go against James Bond, just because I think William Wallace would have better dissing ability. So he might be a tougher opponent. Rap name, oh God, I genuinely don't know. I can't think of it. Something with ginger in it, because I'm a redhead. MC Ginger. There you go. Very
MC Ginger whiskey maker. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Or we could do a green ginger, like a whiskey mac kind of thing.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
Deary me, that was the toughest question I've ever been asked.
And by the way, I've credit for credit's due. This is Mitch coming up with this mental nonsense. I don't know what he drinks before he writes some of these questions, but
I know I have a lot of time up in Speyside and a lot of whiskey. You know, what can I say?
Is that what's happening? Is this like being lost in a desert island and you've got Wilson, like the ball behind you?
I've just penciled on an empty bottle of whiskey, called it Wilson. Exactly, mate. Exactly. But Euan, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. If people want to find out more about yourself, about the society, where can they go?
Go to www.smws.com, or you can find a whole load of content on YouTube, SMWS Silver Screen. There's a whole load of whiskey-themed content on there, so go check it out.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm going to go check out that trip to Jerez. See what you like in front of camera, right?
Natural, man. Absolute natural.
There you go, brother. Honestly, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, man. This has been really insightful and great for our audience to hear about all the amazing work that the Scotch Malt Whisky Society do.
Pleasure's all mine.